Out here in the shop tonight. Just gonna do something real quick with my power steering unit. I just got my parts in to make this thing work again, or to work with my application. There was a little mishap we'll go over, but it should be getting sorted tomorrow. So I got my power steering here. I also just got these flap discs in from Benchmark Abrasives. Now they have ads all over Instagram. I'm sure you see them if you follow pages for fabrication and stuff. It's usually $23 for this 10-pack of assortments from like 60 to 120 grit, I think, or 40 to 120 grit. They have a coupon code for $23 off, so they're free. You just pay $10 for shipping, which is $1 a piece. So we're gonna test those out. I'm actually really excited to try them. Hopefully they're good. But I got my power steering unit here with my bracket I had made. Here's what you need to make this work. Now, I talked to Ken over at epowersteering.com, which is where I ordered all these parts from, and he makes and carries parts specifically for these. He has a lot of knowledge as well, so if you're interested in doing this conversion, contact him because he will have answers, and he did have answers for me. So this end is a 16.5 millimeter by like 32 or 34 count spline, which is what this is for. Oh, no, sorry. This is for. This will slide right on there when there's no set screws. And the other end is supposed to be smooth, but as you can see, it is double D'd, which isn't good because we're supposed to have a smooth shaft for this and not double D'd. But it's double D'd. We're gonna have to get that machined out tomorrow, unfortunately. So if not, we're going to have to cut the shaft. But I talked to Ken. He was super helpful. I was very in love with this. I'm not going to lie. I was like super pissed. I'm like, damn it, I really wanted to weld this in. And I talked to him, and he actually helped me out and was like, hey, this is what we can do. We can have it, he's like, how can I fix it for you? I'm like, well, unless you can overnight it, there's like not much that you can do for me. No offense. And he's like, well, you should get a machine. I said, I can't do that. And I said, listen, I'll talk to my machine shop. If they can do it tomorrow, I'll do it. Will you pay for it? He said, yeah. So that's good of Ken. But anyway, on to what else we need. So they don't make this spline in any type of fitting. He told me he's looked anywhere they don't make it. I had called him on the phone. So what you have to do, this is actually a tube. You have to cut this, insert this pin into there, boom, and then weld on this spline fitting. He sells two different types, but they're all for the same purpose. And then this here goes right over top. And then you weld this to your shaft. And you have a spline fitting, so that way this unit can come out. So what I'm going to do is cut that shaft, insert the pin and weld it, and then weld on the spline tonight. And hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to move on to some other stuff. Alright guys, so I didn't really film it, but I basically just cut this shaft off right at the end of the spline. That way there's plenty of room for this pin to drop in. I didn't know if this ended at all. And I was really worried, props to Ken again, I was worried these pins would be too loose of a fit and it would kind of weld like off center. I had to hammer it in, like it wasn't an easy to get in there, so it should be pretty good. This is clearly going to slide over like so, and then weld on. So I decided to weld the spline and the pin on in two different passes and just leave a little gap between each weld to fill it in. Because I didn't want to risk filling that little gap and not get enough penetration on the pin to the shaft for the steering unit. Because this is what connects your steering wheel to your wheels. And you don't want to slack on this part. You want to make sure everything is welded together good and nothing's going to break. So that's what I did. As you can see from discoloration, you got some good penetration. But you pull this pin out, this slides right off. I basically just left this a little bit up, welded to the shaft, and then I left a small gap, probably about 1/8 of an inch or so, to fill the top edge to the shaft as well. That way, if there was a slight bit of play, which there was a tiny bit of play between the inside of this spline and the pin, that way it won't fatigue that bottom weld and both are solid. Now, this piece slides right over. You get it down to where the dimple is, tightens right up. It's also hot as shit because I just slipped it on where I just welded. But now both sides are usable. We just have to get this sorted out tomorrow. Alright guys, so unfortunately the machine shop couldn't fix this for me, so I'm going to have to just do it myself and make the shaft a double D. But the rest of the fittings are on, and I'm ready to mock it up to weld it in. So basically my plan is just pull that to the side. Probably gonna be about there, guys. So I skipped a little bit. I know I'm a terrible YouTuber, but I was borrowing my dad for a little bit to get that bracket welded in because I couldn't hold it myself and weld it. So there's still more to add to the bracket, but it's in for now. But we got the bracket in and welded on the sides. It's not fully welded yet across the top. And there's also going to be an angle bracket back here to stop the flex, which should be plenty after that. If need be, I will add a little leg that goes here up and bolts onto the cage as well. But anyway, I got the shaft from here down made. I had to grind it to the 2 flat spots. That worked good. I got the dash bar halfway welded in, and I just measured out for this. I had to switch my actual wheel from my 240 onto the quick release because that's what I'm going to be running in this car. And it's much deeper than my grip Royal. So it's a DND wheel, by the way. Killer wheel, I love it. But I just marked it out, so I'm going to cut this in the chop saw. This mark, not that one. And then I'm going to test fit it, and we're going to weld everything together, add that brace, and this will be like done, finally. Alright guys, so this is where the steering wheel should be sitting. Let's squeeze in here without getting dirty. Quite the feeling itself. Boom! Holy shit. So it's a little bit high. The bracket's going to be more like that. So the steering wheel will be like in line with, well, from my vision, it's like in line with the top edge where the dash is going to be, and that's the most comfortable, pretty drivable position. I think so. So now we're going to tack this so we have the depth that can be at, and then this spline will get welded on after. And I'm going to pull all this out, weld everything together. Then we're going to make the brace and get the final angle on this piece. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit lower, more like right around there, but we're going to do that now. Alright guys, so here's the shaft all welded up. Was able to do it in about 3 passes, about 60 degrees each pass on both sides. It came out pretty good. I also went around the top. I didn't really like you know, run beads. I just kind of ran the gun around. The 2 fat spots are where the tacks were. Everything still fits on it very well. So that's the upper half of our steering shaft. Now we have to take that thing apart to get the spline off, and then mount the spline bit to the lower shaft, and then it'll all be disassemblable. I don't know if that's a word, but my original plan was to weld. Like I was trying, I'm gonna save some money on some fittings. That lower U-joint was $70. It wasn't a cheap part. Looking at it, I now know why. It's a very nice piece, but I was like, I don't really know. I'll just weld the shaft straight to the power steering unit. Then the problem is, if that power steering unit fails, I can't just buy a new one and put it on. I have to modify it, buy more 3/4 shaft and weld it all together, make sure it's true so it's not spinning off, you know, but this will be way easier, so we're gonna weld the rest up now. So I'm about to weld this lower shaft just like I welded the upper shaft. And if you notice, I've wrapped this in a t-shirt. This t-shirt's wet. Now, I read this online, not 100% sure if it's true, but it makes sense to me. You don't want to get it too hot because you'll actually you'll actually boil the grease out of the bearings. And you also don't want to put your ground on the U-joint side because people have said that the needle bearings, when the electricity passes through them, will actually weld solid. Then your U-joint's shit and you got to buy a new one and start over. So we're going to put the ground clamp on this side and keep this wet and let it cool down a little bit between passes so the ears, I believe they're called trunnions or something like that, don't get too hot and mess up the bearings. So we just got the U-joint welded in, and as you can see from the line where the discoloration is, it stops pretty hard where the t-shirt was wrapped around. And these up here, they're still a little hot to the touch, but nowhere near as hot as down here. And the joint is nice and good. I don't see grease oozing out, because like I said, this is a very nice joint, like way more than I was expecting. But it's got little seals and everything, and they got like caps you can take off to switch halves usually, but you could probably rebuild these, I'm sure. So I'm happy with how that came out. The t-shirt seemed to keep it a lot cooler than it would have without it. That's it. We're gonna fit all this stuff up for the final fit of all the shafts, tighten it up, make the final angle adjustments to the steering column bracket, so that way it's at the right angle to come to me. And then we're gonna make sure the wheel turns, of course. That's very important. And then do some final welding on that, and I have to weld the back sides of the dash bar. Fuck! Alright guys, so here it is, the moment of truth. Blue gloves on again so we don't dirty up the suede wheel. Oh man, that looks cool. There we go. I mean, like I said, once again, down there. But that is looking pretty sweet. Now, clearly it has all this play right now. This isn't tight. This has to be tightened up for this joint to really solidify. There's another bracket coming that's going to come off here, and a rod end's going to catch this rod to support the steering rod on this side. Which, now that I look at this, we can't use that. Oh, I feel so stupid. That was stupid. Basically, we can't use that rod because it has to slip on the shaft. And there's no way for it to slip on the shaft because we've welded the shaft solid, which is so fucking stupid. I forgot about that. God damn it. Well, we'll figure something out for that. But there's going to be a way that stabilizes the shaft here. There will be. Trust me. Alright, guys. So I got the support bracket fully welded in. This is all out because I was up underneath there welding the dash bar 360. As you can see by these two supports, this is braced now, so that way the plate doesn't move as much. Almost no play. I managed to cut off that fitting so I can slip the heim joint that's going to hang it on, since it can't be together for the heim joint to go on, so I had to do that. But tomorrow that comes in so I can slip it on, re-weld that, and then it'll be ready so I can mock up and weld in the bracket that goes from here out and down, which also comes in tomorrow. I also got the seat out so I can put that back in my 240. I'm drifting on Saturday, which is 3 days, well, it's technically 4 days away, but 3 days that I can work on the car. I have to align the 240, put the seat in, get the seat readjusted. I also got to swap the steering wheels back over. Not too much stuff, nothing too crazy, but it is going to pretty much fill up. Tomorrow I have to get the dash done for this so it can get bent on Thursday, and that way Thursday the dash will be bent and I can do the final cutting. There will be some more bends on the dash, but I have to get the main part mounted for me to be able to move on to painting, because I have to weld in some brackets and stuff most likely. So that's the plan for tomorrow. But the steering is pretty much done. Everything's all buttoned up. I have to finish. I just painted this shaft that goes down. I got to remount this piece. And I have some other collars coming tomorrow, shaft collars for this shaft that is going to hold it in place, like 3/4 inch collars. They're going to clamp it so it doesn't move back and forth. And when all the bracing is done, there should be plenty to keep the steering solid. So pretty excited about that. This is like the most exciting mod I've done to this Mustang yet, because I hate not having power steering in the 240 and having power steering in this that's electric and is variable. So like if you're parking, you can just crank it up, whip the wheel over, and if you're drifting, you can turn it down and numb it out so that you get a little bit more feedback from the car. I think it's great. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Expect to see the dash video for tomorrow. Probably going to start making that. I have to edit this one, obviously. So that's it, guys. Have a good one.